My wife overheard my siblings saying she wasn't good enough for me, unaware of her real background, and when she finally revealed everything about her past, they felt ashamed and started pleading for mercy. Be me, 29-year-old guy. Until a few months ago, genuinely thought I had one of those rare, peaceful lives people envy. Married my high school sweetheart Lily when we were both 24, bought a modest home in a quiet neighborhood in Chicago, landed a stable job as a civil engineer that let me clock out at 5 every day. My family loved her, or at least that's what I believed for years. They always greeted her with hugs, brought her little gifts, joked with her. The way they acted around her, you'd think she was their favorite person. Didn't question it. Why would I? Few months back, planned a weekend trip to visit my parents. They live just 2 hours away in Madison. We go a few times a year. Lily offered to help my mother plan their upcoming anniversary party. She had Pinterest boards ready, sample menus, floral arrangement ideas. She was all in. My mom seemed excited too. She even called Lily twice that week to talk about centerpiece options. Everything looked normal. Got there Friday night, had dinner, settled into the guest room. Saturday morning, Lily was busy in the kitchen, helping my mom prep for the party. I ran out to pick up drinks from the store. Nothing unusual. When I got back, Lily was in the living room with my dad and brother, helping him fix something on his phone. She seemed quieter than usual. Didn't press her. Figured she was just tired. It had been a long day. On the drive back home Sunday evening, she barely said a word, kept looking out the window, replying in short sentences, forcing smiles, asked if something was wrong. She just said she was fine, just exhausted. Believed her. Or maybe I just wanted to believe her. That night, after we'd unpacked and eaten dinner, she came into the living room and asked me to sit down. She was calm. Too calm. Didn't fidget. Didn't pace. She just looked at me and said, "I need to tell you what happened at your parents' house." While she was helping my mom in the kitchen, she had gone back in after forgetting her phone. Didn't mean to eavesdrop. Just happened to hear voices. It was my mom and my sister Olivia. They didn't know she was in the hallway. My sister had laughed and said, "She trapped him. He could have done so much better." My mother answered, "She got pregnant just to keep him around. That's what girls like her do." What they didn't know, what no one in my family knew, was that Lily had miscarried the year before. We never told anyone. She hadn't been ready to talk about it. I respected that. To hear that they believed she had faked or manipulated a pregnancy just to hold on to me, it hit her harder than I could have imagined. She told me she hadn't planned to say anything, but the more she thought about it, the less she could let it go. I tried to explain it away. Maybe they were joking. Maybe it was sarcasm. Maybe it was out of context. That's when she pulled out her phone. She had recorded it. Not because she'd intended to, but because she had set her phone down on the kitchen counter, with the voice recorder still running from earlier, when she was making a voice note for the catering budget. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was crystal clear. They mocked her, ridiculed her. My sister said I was blind, that Lily had been calculating since high school. My mom said she was too polished to be real, too soft-spoken to be sincere. They said she didn't love me. She tolerated me for security. And then they laughed. I called my sister first. She went into panic mode. Denied it at first, then tried to spin it as venting and just joking. I told her there was a recording. She froze. Then switched to guilt-tripping me for not having a sense of humor. My mother didn't even try to deny it. She told me Lily was too sensitive, that women need thicker skin if they want to be part of a real family. Lily didn't argue with any of it. Didn't yell or cry. She just nodded and said, "I'll handle it." That was when I knew something in her had shifted. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't even anger. It was distance. She asked for space, not from me, but from them. She didn't want permission. She was letting me know where she stood. A day later, my sister posted something in the family group chat. People need to learn to take a joke. My cousin liked it. No one else responded. Not even my dad. Lily stopped going to family gatherings. She started working from coffee shops more often, saying it helped her focus. But I noticed she was writing a lot. Her laptop was always open. Not work emails. Long documents. Notes. Something was brewing. My parents kept inviting us to dinner. I went once alone. It felt like walking into a courtroom. They told me Lily was controlling, that she was turning me against them. that I was being manipulated. That was the last time I visited. What I didn't know was that Lily had already started contacting lawyers. She wasn't planning to leave me. She was planning to fight back. 3 days after that last dinner at my parents' house, I came home from work and found the dining table covered in neatly stacked folders. Not random clutter, organized tabs, labeled files, highlighters, printouts. Lily sat on the couch with her laptop open, typing, earbuds in. She didn't say anything. She just pointed to the table and went back to work. Inside the folders were bank statements, tax returns, old chat logs, email chains, stuff I hadn't looked at in years. She had flagged transactions, highlighted account numbers, even printed out a PDF of a bank authorization form. At the top of one folder, she had written, "Look closely." Page 3. 2 years ago, we'd put together a shared business account. When we were thinking of opening a side project together, we never used it much. Just a few transfers in and out, but it was there for emergencies or new ideas. Apparently, someone else had found a use for it. According to the paperwork, my parents had withdrawn over $16,000 from that account. Lily found the bank record showing the transfer, and right beside it, an email from the branch, confirming they'd spoken to my mother, who told them I had approved it. There was even a scanned form with my signature on it. The problem? I never signed that document. Next folder, an email chain between my mother and my sister. It wasn't just about money. My sister had convinced my parents to help her launch a bakery. Lily had heard about the bakery years ago, but we were told my sister got a small business loan. Apparently it wasn't a loan. It was our money, and they never returned a cent. When Lily laid everything out that night, she didn't yell or pace. She went item by item, showing me emails, pointing to dates, highlighting names. Then she asked one question. "Did you know?" I didn't. Not one part of it. I sat down and read every single page. She gave me a choice. Either I stand with her or I stay out of her way. I told her to do what she needed to do. 2 days later, legal papers were filed. Lily pressed charges for fraud and identity theft. My mother was served at her weekly book club. In front of 6 of her closest friends, she tried to call me afterward. 4 missed calls, 2 voicemails, and 1 furious text. I didn't respond. The next call came from my father. He didn't ask for details. He went straight to shouting, blaming Lily for tearing the family apart, claiming she was manipulating me, poisoning everything. I told him they had done that all on their own. Then I blocked his number. That same evening, my sister posted on her social media, long dramatic caption about betrayal, about outsiders ruining sibling bonds, about how people should keep private matters off legal documents. She didn't use our names, but she didn't have to. Her friends flooded the comments with sympathy. A few even messaged me trying to explain her emotional state. I ignored every single one. Lily didn't go online to defend herself. Instead, she sent one email, a single message to our extended family. She attached everything. The fake authorization form, the bank statements, the emails. No commentary, no rant, just the subject line. Here's the truth. 3 cousins responded within the hour. They had their own stories. My parents had borrowed money from them, too. One cousin had given them $5,000 years ago during a health scare. They promised to pay him back within 6 months. It never happened. Another cousin's college fund disappeared after my parents offered to manage it. A few days later, my sister showed up at our house. Not calmly. She parked half on the lawn and started screaming before she even made it to the front door. She said we had ruined her future, humiliated her, turned everyone against her. Lily didn't engage. She called the police. My sister was given a formal trespassing warning and told not to return. We haven't seen her since. The anniversary party never happened. The group chat went quiet. No one brought it up again. It just disappeared from the calendar like it had never been planned in the first place. My father sent one last message before I blocked him. Said I had chosen wrong and burned bridges that couldn't be rebuilt. I didn't reply. A week after that, a family friend who sits on my father's business board pulled out of a long pending real estate deal. He had seen the documents Lily sent. One discovery led to another. My father's financial records were being picked apart by more than just family now. That fallout's still unfolding. Not everyone turned on us. One of my aunts called Lily. She didn't make excuses. She said she had seen this behavior for years and stayed quiet. She said Lily was the first one to actually stand up to it. A few days ago, my parents tried again. A hand-delivered letter this time, saying they still believed I could come to my senses, and that there was still time to leave Lily and make things right. I shredded it and tossed it in the bin. I haven't spoken to either of them since. Lily didn't respond to the chaos with noise. No cryptic social media posts. No angry phone calls. She stayed quiet and moved with intention. The same way she used to handle client crises back when she managed legal compliance for nonprofits. This was just another kind of project, one she had been unknowingly preparing for her whole life. The week after the trespassing incident with my sister, she filed a formal complaint with the licensing board that oversees my sister's profession. Not out of spite, just facts. Fraud charges, police records, bank documents. Everything was submitted neatly in order. 2 weeks later, my sister's license was suspended pending investigation. She found out through a letter taped to her front door. She blamed Lily, obviously. Left voicemails on her friends' phones. Posted vague threats online. But legally, she wasn't allowed to contact us anymore. Lily didn't respond. Neither did I. That's when the smear campaign began. My parents switched strategies. They started telling extended family, old neighbors, even people from church, that Lily was unstable, that she had isolated me from everyone I loved. According to them, she was obsessed, controlling, dangerous. A few people believed it. Most stayed quiet, but one of my mother's old co-workers emailed me screenshots of texts she had received from her. They were long rants full of lies. Our lawyer sent cease and desist letters the next day. One went to my parents' house. It arrived in a white envelope along with a bouquet of white roses. No note. Just silence. The split in the family got worse. An uncle, my mother's younger brother, publicly sided with my parents, claimed we were attacking the family legacy. His daughter, however, messaged Lily privately. All she wrote was, "You're doing what I never could." Then she deleted her social media and went quiet. We never brought it up. About a week later, something unexpected happened. My father received a notice from the Internal Revenue Service, requesting additional information on several past returns. There had been irregularities, missing income, unreported gifts. No one knew who sent the tip. Lily never admitted to it. She just folded the letter neatly and added it to her binder. The audit was the beginning of another discovery. Lily found bank statements showing that my father had quietly pulled $8,000 from our wedding fund years ago, money we had saved while still dating. He used it to invest in another one of my sister's failed businesses, a boutique clothing line that closed down within 6 months. They never told us. They never planned to. Lily found out through a paper trail they thought no one would check. That was the final straw. She sent one last message to my sister. Just one line. "You buried me. Now it's your turn." Then she blocked her number and email. I followed her lead. We blocked every cousin, aunt, uncle, and old friend who chose their side. We weren't arguing anymore. We were done. A few people reached out later, mostly old friends I hadn't spoken to since college. One of them said, "Your wife is terrifying, man." I told him, "She's just finally free." No one had seen this side of her before, not even me. Lily started therapy around that time, not because she was falling apart, but because she wanted to focus her anger. She walked into those sessions like she walked into court, organized, clear, determined. Her therapist said she had one of the sharpest minds she'd ever met. Within a month, Lily had turned those sessions into something bigger. One afternoon, she got a call from a college friend who worked in publishing. The friend had seen some of the writing Lily had started sharing in private circles, essays, breakdowns of what happened, reflections on how manipulation hides behind politeness. That friend pitched a deal. Lily didn't say yes right away. She asked for full creative control. No ghostwriter. No editor rewriting her voice. She started writing the next week. She called the book The Daughter-in-Law. It wasn't a revenge story. It wasn't even about our family directly. It was part survival guide, part roadmap for women dealing with subtle control dressed up as family love. She wrote it like a manual for every person who didn't have the proof we had at home. She wrote with headphones on, typing late into the night. She didn't rush it. She outlined every chapter, linked every section to real-life resources, spoke to therapists, attorneys, women's advocacy groups. It became more than a book. It became her voice. I started seeing her differently, not as someone I had to protect, but as someone who had already saved herself a long time ago. She had just waited for the right time to show it. The last time anyone from my family tried to reach us was through a forwarded email from a cousin. It was a scanned note from my mother complaining that her reputation had been unfairly damaged and that Lily should consider apologizing before it's too late. We didn't reply. The lawyer added it to the file. Lily finished her book last night. And she's not done. It started with a text from an old college friend. She mentioned how someone claiming to be from an event planning agency had called her months after our wedding, pitching her an exclusive retreat package. At the time, she assumed it was just random spam. But then she said the caller knew her full name, her job title, and the table she sat at during our wedding reception. Lily dug into it immediately. Within a week, she had contacted over a dozen guests from our wedding. 5 of them remembered being contacted by someone claiming to be affiliated with an event service. One remembered the caller using my sister's name. Another forwarded an old voicemail. Lily recognized the voice. Apparently, my sister had taken our wedding guest list and used it to build a cold call database for a business she was quietly launching on the side. She never mentioned it to us. It wasn't in her marketing materials, and none of the guests ever opted in. Lily filed formal complaints with the Better Business Bureau and submitted a report to a state fraud tip line. She included call logs, guest statements, and an archived version of my sister's now defunct website, which had listed the retreat company under a different name. No one had connected it before. That same week, a local reporter contacted Lily. Word had spread through community forums about financial misconduct tied to a well-known family in the area. Someone had dropped a hint about the licensing board suspension and the police involvement from earlier. The reporter asked for a meeting. Lily agreed, but only off the record and only with her lawyer present. While the reporter started digging, my sister made a move of her own. She began emailing old wedding guests again, this time with a new story. She claimed Lily had hacked her business contacts, that Lily was unstable, that she was the real victim. She begged for character references and tried to spin it all as a family misunderstanding gone public. Lily didn't answer. She sent everything to her attorney. Within days, new cease and desist letters were issued. Not just to my sister, but also to my mother and father, who had been forwarding the same emails from their accounts. Once the letters were served, we blocked them permanently. No calls, no texts, no emails. From that point forward, they were legally required to go through counsel for any form of contact. Then came the leaks. One by one, old group chat screenshots started showing up online. Lily had forwarded them to a trusted contact in advocacy circles, who anonymously began sharing them in response to the ongoing smear campaign. It was from a few months before all of this blew up. In it, my mother had been planning to humiliate Lily during a family dinner. Fake compliments, underhanded jabs, even a script of what to say in front of others. My sister had responded with laughing emojis and added her own suggestions. Lily read through the screenshots, thanked the cousin, and forwarded the entire chat log to the reporter. That was the moment things started to turn public. The reporter began expanding the story. What started as a piece on family tension shifted into a wider investigation, one that looked into misuse of funds, possible identity theft, and harassment tactics used to silence someone who spoke up. The article wasn't published yet, but the buzz was enough to cause problems. My father's company called an emergency board meeting. By the end of the week, he was placed on administrative leave. Officially, it was phrased as a leave of absence pending internal review. Unofficially, his name was becoming a liability. Shareholders had started asking questions. Someone from his industry network forwarded screenshots from the family email thread that had been circulating quietly for weeks. In our neighborhood, things got strange. People stopped making small talk at church. A woman who had always smiled at us avoided eye contact. Someone told us my sister was going around saying she'd been canceled by her own family. Apparently, she was telling people she'd lost everything because she stood up to Lily. Most people didn't buy it, but some did. Lily didn't respond to any of it. She started focusing on documentation. Every email, every voicemail, every legal form, every financial record, she uploaded it all into a secure archive. It was organized by incident, cross-referenced by date, and backed up in 3 different places. Her attorney called it one of the most well-prepared personal case files he'd ever seen. It wasn't just for legal protection anymore, it was proof. A record. Something no one could deny, distort, or destroy. She started adding voice memos to the archive. Not for anyone else, just as a way to timestamp what had happened in her own words. She spoke clearly, briefly, like she was reading court notes. The more she added, the more obvious it became. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. Truth backed by records, confirmed by timestamps, protected by law. My sister's last email came the day before the article was scheduled to go live. It was a short message begging Lily not to ruin what's left of their family's name. We didn't reply. Lily forwarded it to her attorney, saved a copy in the archive, and closed the laptop. The article was coming, and once it was out, there wouldn't be anywhere left to hide. The call came in on a Thursday afternoon. Lily's college friend, the same one who had helped with her book deal, was working on a documentary series about modern family systems and generational control. After seeing the outline of Lily's story, she pitched the idea of turning it into a full feature. Lily agreed, but only under one condition: full creative control. No producers watering it down, no re-edits to soften the impact. Within a week, a small crew was in our home. Nothing flashy, just 2 cameras, a sound tech, and a handheld stabilizer. They filmed everything: interviews with Lily, walkthroughs of her documentation, even quiet moments where she worked on her digital archive. They didn't chase drama. They captured detail. They followed her to meetings with her lawyer, her therapy sessions, and even a short conference where she gave a talk about boundary setting and toxic families. Every step was built around transparency. News of the documentary leaked before we were ready. A cousin who hadn't spoken to us in months posted a vague status on social media, just enough to stir the pot. Within hours, the family group chats lit up. Not the ones we were part of, but the ones we used to be in. Someone forwarded screenshots. My sister called her attorney. My father called his. Threats were thrown around. None of them stuck. Lily's lawyer had already filed preemptive protections. Every piece of footage was legally covered. Every document shown had been vetted and approved under investigative reporting guidelines. No one was being shown without consent, and every name tied to criminal or civil action had their identities handled according to legal standards. There were no holes to poke. My parents tried hiring a public relations firm to manage their image. The firm declined after reviewing the allegations. Too risky. Too much paper trail. Not worth the reputation damage. That rejection was never supposed to go public. But someone leaked the email the firm had sent. It circulated fast. Then came the next hit. One of my cousins, this one on my father's side, contacted Lily privately. She had found old bank documents her father had been holding on to. They showed that years ago my father had moved money out of a trust fund. That was originally meant for both my sister and me. My sister got her half early. I never saw a dime. It had been done quietly, buried under legal language, without ever notifying me. Lily told me to get my own attorney. I did. We filed motions to review all financial records tied to that trust. My father had used our childhood savings to fund bad investments, personal purchases, and loans to friends. The documentation lined up with tax records, emails, and even one message he had sent joking that he hoped I'd never notice. While the legal process was underway, a teaser for the documentary went online. Just 2 minutes, Lily speaking calmly over a montage of documents, screenshots, and short clips of her organizing files. It didn't mention names. It didn't need to. The comment section filled up within hours. Thousands of people watched. Some tried to guess who the story was about. Others just wanted to see the full version. Lily didn't respond to any of it. She wasn't chasing attention. She just wanted the story on record. Not long after the teaser dropped, she received anonymous threats through email. Messages warning her to stop, calling her names, making vague threats. She reported every one of them to law enforcement. We installed new cameras outside our home, upgraded our alarms, and began limiting public appearances. Lily's publisher put out a quiet statement confirming the harassment, but didn't add fuel to it. Then the leaks began. One by one, old group chat screenshots started showing up online. Not from us. Someone else had access and started releasing the messages in pieces. These weren't edited or taken out of context. They were real conversations where my sister, my mother, and a few extended relatives mocked Lily, planned social pranks, and laughed about hiding certain bank transactions from me. They even joked about getting Lily drunk at a family party to catch her slipping. The comments on those posts spoke for themselves. With every release, more people distanced themselves from my parents. Friends stopped calling. Former co-workers removed them from group chats. A local charity removed my father's name from a donor list. The pressure was building. Unable to get through to me directly, my father called my workplace. He left a message with the front desk asking to speak privately about family matters. HR flagged it immediately. I filed a no-contact notice the same day. That closed the final personal channel he had left. Through all of it, Lily didn't gloat. She kept notes in her journal each time something shifted. A response. A ruling. A name being cleared. She wrote it down and moved to the next task. She didn't rush. She didn't get distracted. She stayed on track. Then came the audit. Official paperwork was served to my father's company. It wasn't connected to us directly. We didn't request it. But after everything that had gone public, someone at the state level had triggered a deeper financial review. That audit is still ongoing. The documentary has a release date now, and my father's name is no longer on any boardroom door. The audit into my father's company escalated faster than anyone expected. What started as a routine financial review turned into a multi-agency investigation. Auditors uncovered misfiled charitable donations dating back years, offshore transfers that had never been disclosed, and fake expense reports used to claim business deductions on luxury vacations. His CFO was questioned, then quietly resigned. 2 more senior staff followed within a week. Everything began to spiral. While that storm grew, my legal team made progress on our end. They uncovered a document filed with the Trust Administration Office, supposedly signed by me, requesting a delay in the disbursement of my half of the inheritance. The signature wasn't mine. It had been scanned in from another form I signed years ago and copied onto a different document. The handwriting didn't even match. That alone pushed the case from civil dispute into potential criminal fraud. A few days later, we attended a preliminary hearing. My parents' attorney tried to downplay the claims as family miscommunication. Then Lily's binder came out. Color-coded tabs, highlighted entries, timestamps. The judge paused more than once to examine the documents herself. At one point, she openly questioned the ethics of both my parents. Their attorney requested a recess. Halfway through the hearing, he wasn't ready for how deep the paper trail went. Back at home, Lily continued organizing. She pulled out an older folder she had nearly forgotten about. Inside was a notarized letter from 5 years ago. My father had signed it, promising to repay a 5-figure loan he took from our shared account. It was his handwriting, his signature, witnessed and stamped by a third party. We'd never seen a cent of that money again. News about the audit started affecting public ties. One of the charitable boards my father sat on announced a full freeze on all activity. They posted a short statement citing pending internal concerns. He wasn't mentioned by name, but everyone understood. Several of his social media profiles quietly disappeared over the next few days. No public comment, just silence. Then came the desperation. My sister launched a GoFundMe campaign. The title read, "Help Me Survive Legal Persecution." The description was vague, blaming vague in-laws and online mobs. Within hours, people flagged the campaign. It was taken down the same day. Lily didn't respond publicly. She didn't need to. The documentation spoke louder than anything else. Messages started arriving again, this time from people who had once taken my family's side. Some were old friends. A few were extended family members. They apologized. Some admitted they had believed the lies for too long. Others asked Lily for advice on how to protect themselves from financial manipulation or family pressure. She responded with links to resources, legal aid sites, financial literacy guides, support groups. No rants, just tools. Then we got an envelope. No return address? Inside were expense reports, pay stubs, handwritten meeting notes, all from inside my father's company. The handwriting matched one of his longtime assistants. It was a quiet but clear signal. Someone from the inside was done covering for him. Lily gave everything to our lawyer. More dots connected. More inconsistencies appeared. The final blow for my sister came shortly after. Her business license, already under suspension, was officially revoked. The investigation found forged vendor contracts and a fake insurance policy listed on her filings. Without the license, she couldn't operate. Without clients, she couldn't recover. The accounts linked to her business were shut down. Meanwhile, rumors started spreading that my parents were preparing to sell their second property. It was a vacation home they once bragged about in every family gathering. Now it was on the market under a quiet listing. Legal bills were stacking up. The trust fund investigation alone required multiple court filings. Lily heard the news through our lawyer. Her only response was, "Not our mess to clean up." At home, things were calm. No chaos. No arguments. Just routine. We ate together every night, talked about our work, planned trips, focused on the future. The drama was still happening, but it wasn't ours anymore. Then we got the call. A major streaming platform had seen the teaser for the documentary. They wanted in, full backing, global release. Lily negotiated the deal herself. She didn't just accept their terms. She rewrote them. Producer credit, editorial control, final cut approval. The deal was signed within a week. New offers followed. A client from one of my projects reached out to her privately. He was building a digital advocacy campaign about financial recovery and survivor empowerment. He wanted her voice. She agreed, but on her terms. No middlemen, no compromises. The contract paid 3 times her old consulting rate. Every time something collapsed on their side, something opened on ours, and through all of it, Lily never slowed down. She kept notes. She followed up. She listened. She rebuilt. What my family saw as destruction, she treated as blueprints. She wasn't surviving anymore. She was designing the structure for what came next. And there's still more coming. The courtroom was packed tighter than usual for the inheritance hearing. My parents sat with stiff shoulders, and my sister avoided looking anywhere but down. Their new attorney looked like he had read everything for the first time that morning. As soon as the judge began reviewing the documents, she flagged inconsistencies. My father's testimony didn't match prior filings. One signed affidavit he submitted directly contradicted earlier statements. Then Lily passed a single-page letter to our lawyer, who handed it to the judge. It was my father's signature, dated, witnessed, notarized. It proved he'd acknowledged the transfer of funds from the inheritance trust, including how the money had already been allocated to my sister years prior. It destroyed his credibility in seconds. The judge paused, looked straight at him, and asked for clarification. My father tried to shift blame. The attorney beside him asked for a short recess. 10 minutes later, he returned alone and informed the court he was stepping down as legal counsel, citing a lack of cooperation and ethical conflict. No one was surprised. The evidence couldn't be argued anymore. Then the subpoenaed bank records came in. My college fund had been emptied nearly 6 years ago. The money had been routed through a personal account, then wired offshore to an investment linked to my sister's now defunct fashion brand. There were emails showing my father authorizing the transfers. My name was never on any of it. The bank confirmed none of the documents were co-signed by me. It had been a clean sweep. While the courtroom unraveled, the second teaser for the documentary went live. This one included clips from private recordings. One of them caught my sister laughing about Lily's miscarriage, muffled audio but clear enough to recognize the voices. She'd been talking to my mother, mocking the fake sadness and calling it a ploy for sympathy. The clip wasn't long, but it was enough. The response online was instant. Her closest friends, people who had defended her just months ago, distanced themselves. One sent Lily a private apology. Another posted a public statement saying they no longer supported her. Her business social accounts were locked within hours. Sponsors pulled back. A minor podcast that had once featured her deleted the episode entirely. Lily's attorney followed the momentum. A civil lawsuit was filed against all 3. My mother, father, and sister. It focused on financial fraud, breach of trust, and falsified loan agreements. The claim was structured around notarized documents, bank statements, forged authorizations, and misused business funds. Every line was backed by receipts. The timing couldn't have been worse for my father. Former employees from his company had filed a class action lawsuit days earlier. Claims of unpaid wages, fake bonuses, and misrepresented contracts started flooding in. Some came with email trails. One former staff member included recordings of internal meetings where executives joked about delaying payments until they quit. His company froze operations while attorneys reviewed everything. A distant cousin reached out quietly. My parents were trying to sell the lake house. Not listed publicly, but word had circulated. No one offered help. No one asked for our side. We didn't respond. Lily had already filed that entire part of her life away. It wasn't revenge anymore. It was a process. My sister didn't stop. She launched another GoFundMe. This one framed her as a target of social media harassment. It didn't last the day. Dozens of people flagged it. Comments flooded in, calling out her past behavior, linking to the documentary teaser and court records. The campaign was removed before it even reached $500. Then the smear campaign began. Despite having received formal cease and desist letters, my parents switched strategies and violated the order. By spreading false stories to extended family, neighbors, and church members. Meanwhile, Lily was invited to speak at a women's conference on financial literacy. She accepted. No announcement. No press release. She just wrote her speech, flew out quietly, and stood on stage without shaking. A week later, a major news outlet ran a feature on the documentary. The headline read, "The Woman Who Cracked the Spine of Generational Abuse." The piece went viral. It told the full arc: manipulation, financial fraud, emotional abuse, and the legal battle that followed. It included an interview with one of the documentary producers. They called Lily relentless, prepared, and unflinching. Not long after that, my workplace HR forwarded me a voicemail. It came from my mother through the general business line. She begged to make things right, blamed Lily again, and insisted this had all gone too far. HR flagged it as harassment and passed it to legal. Then the tip arrived. No name, no details, just a secure message sent to our attorney. It claimed a federal investigation into my father's financial dealings had begun. Something about money laundering through shell companies and undeclared assets overseas. We didn't chase it. But by the end of the week, my father had disappeared from public view. His company email bounced back. His personal phone was disconnected. Someone had wiped his social media. That night, Lily sat across from me after dinner. She looked through her notes, closed her laptop, and said, "This was never about revenge. I just wanted them to answer for what they did. Now they are." The court ruling landed on a Monday. It was short, direct, and impossible to misinterpret. I was awarded my full share of the inheritance plus interest. Calculated from the original date of the trust's breach, the judge gave my father 60 days to comply, or face asset seizure and wage garnishment. Lily was already preparing legal claims against the family's remaining real estate. There was no appeal filed. That same week, Lily received another round of threats. One message mentioned specific dates and locations she'd been seen. Law enforcement traced it to a burner phone purchased under a company card linked to my father's old firm. Our attorney submitted it with an emergency filing. Lily was granted a protective order within 48 hours. Security around our property was increased. Surveillance upgrades were installed the next day. Then the full documentary launched. The first episode dropped on a major platform on Friday evening. By Sunday morning, it had passed 1 million views. The reviews were immediate, stunning, fearless, a masterclass in standing your ground. The visuals showed more than just the facts. It revealed the pattern, the manipulation, the financial deceit, the generational patterns that had passed as tradition. The second voice in episode 1 belonged to my mother. One line, just a comment about Lily never being part of the family, no matter how hard she tries, played beneath photos of birthday parties and holiday dinners. A cousin who still speaks to us said she smashed a wine glass against the wall after hearing it. Then silence. After the episode aired, everything started moving faster. The family faced near total ostracization. My parents were banned from their longtime country club. My mother was quietly removed from her volunteer board position at a local museum. Church family stopped responding to their messages. One family even changed seats when they walked in. All the shame they once used to control others had come back around and wrapped tightly around them. 2 of my great-uncles published open letters in the town's local paper. Not digital posts, real printed statements. Both denounced my parents' behavior and commended Lily for her strength and clarity. One line read, "Some inherit land, others inherit silence." She broke that chain with facts, not anger. They didn't reach out privately. They made it public on purpose. My sister, already under pressure, hit freefall. 2 different fraud investigations named her formally. One came from a former client who discovered she had forged vendor contracts using a template from our old wedding materials. The second came from her ex-business partner, who filed a lawsuit after finding manipulated budget sheets. Eviction records showed she had been removed from her apartment 2 weeks later. No appeal filed, no statement made. Then came the federal charges against my father: wire fraud, falsifying financial documents, obstruction of an audit. A press release from the Department of Justice confirmed the indictment. He was taken into custody without incident. His bail request was denied due to risk of flight. A hearing was scheduled for the following month. Reporters began circling immediately. Their last known address was flooded with cameras. One neighbor put up a no trespassing sign just to avoid being associated with the situation. My mother released a short statement through a lawyer, blaming online harassment and a culture of public shaming, but no one echoed it. No papers picked it up. No interviews aired it. The public wasn't listening anymore. My sister disappeared online completely. Every profile gone. The last thing we heard, she was staying with someone in a nearby town. Maybe a distant friend. Maybe someone she hadn't burned yet. Either way, no one cared. She had lost every stage she'd once performed on. Lily declined every media request. National outlets called. Talk shows offered exclusive interviews. One publisher wanted a follow-up memoir. She turned all of it down. The story's already told. They just weren't ready for it. Instead, a podcast series followed the documentary. 5 episodes. Investigative tone. Multiple guests. Lily contributed, but only as an anonymous source. No name. No photos. Just information. That's all she ever wanted out there. Then we left. Not in a dramatic escape. Just a planned move. We picked a quiet city a few hours away. No connections. No overlapping circles. We found a modest home on a hill with a long backyard. Lily planted a garden the first week. Tomatoes. Mint. A lemon tree. When I asked her why she started so quickly, she didn't pause. I'm tired of tearing things down. I want to grow something now. Last week, a letter arrived. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. It was from my father. 3 pages, but I only read the first. The usual excuses. Twisting of facts. He claimed we misunderstood his intentions. I didn't read the second page. I didn't need to. The past was done talking and we weren't listening anymore. My father pled guilty. No drawn-out trial. No defiant closing speech. Just a plea deal that listed out each financial crime like items on a spreadsheet. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Obstruction. The judge sentenced him to 5 years in federal prison and ordered full restitution to every person he defrauded, me included. Court documents showed exact figures. My name was on page 4, next to a number that had been hidden for over a decade. He was let out quietly. No cámaras. Just a courtroom emptied of excuses. My mother filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy 2 weeks later. Her debts totaled just under $1 million. Most of it came from legal fees, unpaid property taxes, and defaulted lines of credit she co-signed with my father. Her filing listed 0 income, no property, no car, and no dependent assets. She now rents a single room from a friend of a distant relative. No one's heard from her since. Her phone is disconnected. The last social media post she ever made was a photo of roses. It had one comment. No likes. My sister reappeared once for a court hearing, where a judge formally barred her from owning or managing any business for the next 10 years. She didn't argue. She just nodded, signed the agreement, and walked out of the courthouse with a duffel bag. Someone saw her board a bus later that evening. That was the last anyone saw of her in public. Her name hasn't appeared on any digital record since. Then came the book deal. Lily signed with a major publisher after weeks of back and forth. One editor had suggested toning it down for mass appeal, but Lily walked away from that offer. Eventually, she found the right fit, someone who respected her voice and her terms. She wrote for people who never saw the betrayal coming. The first book breaks down what financial coercion looks like, how to document evidence safely, how to build exit plans, and what survivors need to know about legal options. She didn't want to sell pain. She wanted to package power. The documentary picked up traction at film festivals, though one smaller venue backed out last minute worried about controversy. But it was picked up elsewhere, and went on to win Best Investigative Feature at one of the biggest international festivals of the year. Lily didn't attend. That same day, she planted sunflowers across the backyard. When I asked her about the award, she didn't even check the press release. She just said the garden needed more light. Online people couldn't stop talking. Fan art, essays, group discussions. Some made video timelines piecing together the story. One post claimed Lily had rewritten what justice looks like. She ignored all of it. She had said everything she needed to say. The rest was just noise. A final hearing granted us a permanent restraining order against my mother and sister. No contact. No third-party communication. No digital messages. Not now. Not ever. If either tries, it's a direct violation and punishable by law. The judge made it clear. This door is closed permanently. 3 months ago, Lily gave birth to our son. The room was quiet. She held him first and whispered, "You will never inherit their lies, only our truth." He blinked once, wrapped his tiny hand around her finger, and slept. The hospital staff complimented how calm he was. We didn't mention anything else. A month later, we legally changed our last name. Lily, our son, and me. It wasn't dramatic, just paperwork, but it was the final clean break. No more carrying a bloodline that tried to rewrite our lives. We chose a name that meant renewal. It came from Lily's grandmother, someone who had survived her own war and lived to teach others how to heal. One evening, Lily handed me a folded piece of paper. It was a letter to her past self. She had written it alone after finishing the manuscript for her second book. It wasn't about regret. It was about closure, a goodbye not to the pain but to the silence she once accepted. She folded it back up, sealed it in an envelope, and placed it in the back of her journal. She also launched a digital support group for survivors of family-based financial abuse. It wasn't marketed or promoted. It spread on its own. Within a month, it had over 10,000 members, people sharing stories, resources, and strategies. One user wrote, "I thought I was the only one until I found this group." Lily checks in daily, not as a moderator, just as someone who understands. My therapist once asked me, "Do you miss them?" I told him the truth. I missed the version I thought they were, but that version never existed. He nodded and moved on. No further questions. Last weekend, I was cleaning out the attic and found an old box. Inside were photo albums from years ago, birthdays, graduations, dinners that felt warm until the truth came out. I asked Lily if we should throw them away. She looked through one, paused, and said, "Keep them. They remind us of who we refused to become." The legacy we inherited was broken, but the one we built piece by piece, record by record, day by day, was intact. I married a woman who didn't just survive betrayal. She exposed it, dismantled it, and planted something stronger in its place. In the rubble of everything they tried to destroy, we grew something they never could piece.